What's going on, guys? Seek the Geek here, back in the video. Today we're talking about air leaks. What is an air leak? How to find an air leak? How to fix an air leak? So we will be finding air leaks on a 2-stroke Tyndall engine, but this applies to most engines. An air leak is when a gasket surface or a sealing surface on an engine isn't sealing when the engine is running. You'll know it's not sealing because the engine sometimes will be hard to start, they'll be running leaner, and it won't have an idle. If you're having idling issues, a common place to start is air leaks. It's pretty easy. There's a couple places you can check for air leaks, but first you need to have your bike idling. So pull your bike up your driveway or wherever, have the clutch pulled back, and get yourself a bottle of starting fluid, carburetor cleaner, anything that's flammable that sprays, pretty much. That's what you need. The places you can have an air leak are the intake gasket, the base gasket, exhaust gasket, the case gasket, and the crank seals. We're going to start with the intake, actually. A lot of the time these engines come so cheaply that these NT carbs or Bofang carbs won't have an O-ring in here. You need that O-ring, so when you push on this carb into this intake manifold, that O-ring will seal the carb. That's the most common place. It's a 2-cent part that they just don't put in these engines anymore. That's the easiest place to start. The second easiest place to start is make sure everything's tightened down. Make sure your intake manifold, exhaust, and head studs are firmly tight. Tighten your head studs in a star pattern. Don't do more than 12 foot-pounds with a torque wrench. If you don't have a torque wrench, that's fine, just do firm. What you're gonna need to do is, get your bottle of starting fluid or carb cleaner, whatever works, whatever is flammable. And while the engine's idling, you have the clutch pulled, spray everywhere you can, and listen for a sound, a different sound. If there's an air leak, let's say on the intake manifold and the gasket, and I spray it, the engine will either bog down and die, it'll rev super high up, and so you just gotta listen for sounds. If you sprayed all the top end in the case gasket and there's no air leaks, there's no change in sound, you gotta take off your clutch cover and your magneto cover and spray behind the magnet in the small bevel gear. There's crank seals that seal the crank while it's spinning, and those are a common place to leak as well. So all you gotta do is just spray behind them and listen for a sound. And if there's still no change in sound, make sure your carburetor's tuned. You can play with a needle adjustment. Again, if the engine is too lean in the carburetor tuning or from the air leak, but in this situation you've checked all air leaks and the carburetor's lean, you'll be able to hear it because when you rev the bike, the RPMs will stay super high up and then slowly come down after you revved it. It'll be kind of a delay. And if the bike is too rich, when you rev it and you're riding the engine with the clutch dropped, it'll 4-stroke and bog a lot. So if your engine is running too lean or too rich, that can cause a bad idle. If your carburetor is tuned, you checked all the places for an air leak, then it could be your ignition. If your ignition is too advanced or too retarded, then you can change that by sending down the Woodruff key in this magnet and changing it. But 99% of the time with these Tyndall engines, you don't need to do that. They're already timed where they need to be. A common thing when people will buy a different CDI, something like a BBR stage whatever CDI, upgrade performance, they won't have an idle. So maybe change out your CDI, change the ignition timing. That's final though. That's the final thing you want to check. Anyway, if y'all have any questions, comment down below. If I could help someone, that'd be nice. But let me know in the comments. Hope this helped. Anyway, thank y'all and ride safe.